I just like the wind to blow a little bit so you can shit.
That's terrible, isn't it? Yeah. I noticed yesterday where the water's standing, the dirt is just starting to air off.
That's the only good thing about the wind.
At least
It'll get wetter.
next week's not going to matter.
It seems like the wind's always coming out of the south.
Sure, like they have been.
I had the wind southeast going.
Well, that's how you're supposed to build it, isn't it? Prevailing storm winds coming from the northwest. It's why you want doors to sweep up the air. I think our last name starts with B.
I just go ahead and just put B. Did your Facebook fill up?
Yeah.
I tried to get on there and friend you. It was later on. I don't know if I made it in time or not.
They limit it to 5,000 phones.
Right after you put that, I seen it on Facebook there and went and tried to get on there. I think I was too late. You got banned already, huh?
Morning.
I can't remember all of that off the top of my head.
You got 9 o'clock,
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Yeah.
I'll correct you.
Thank you. Call the meeting to order. Ben's here. We're all here, so we got enough for. Okay, I guess we'll open up the public comment, but I'm going to tell everybody to get your public comments in now. There will be none through the meeting. Public comment?
I do. I've got a copy. I'll be happy to give this to you, Chairman. Something I want you to think about, especially in light of the forensic audit and potential litigation that comes forward or may come forward. In regards to the farm stuff and the public use issue, I don't know what you're going to propose today, but I think the emphasis has continually been on public purpose of the property. And in Dillon's rule, it outlines very specifically what the 3 powers are. And I'll quote from this: it's the second part of Dillon's rule that puts the vice on local government's powers. This part states that if there's any reasonable doubt whether a power has been conferred on a local government, then the power has not been conferred. That is known as the rule of local government powers, and that's within Dillon's rule. And understanding your concern over the power line stuff, I did bring the documents I spoke with you about the other day. In a letter to the Farm Bureau, they also talk about what should have been reserved for public use in the eminent domain and how that's being trampled. So if public use is an issue of concern on the power line in eminent domain, I would hope the same standard is applied to what you're going to do moving forward here. If you'd like copies of this, I have them here for you.
I'll get them here after a bit.
Okay?
Jeff, okay, just to Dave Ogden here in Shelbyville. If I understood you correctly, you're not going to allow us to speak after we hear your presentation?
You're correct.
Okay. So with that, we have pursued a possible pilot program with the Shelby County Schools. I'm going to let Mitch open up, and then I'll follow up at the tail end with that.
Well, Mitchell Chef, Shelby County, taxpayer. Well, I don't need to stand up. Unless he tells me I need to.
No, you're fine.
You know, me and my wife was in a conversation, how can we come up with an idea of public purpose, because that's what's holding the whole issue up, public purpose of the property, the county farm. So my wife mentioned, how about the ag program of school districts, or particularly school district being Shelby County as a seat to enter into potential governmental agreement. Now we pursued or got counsel, a friend of mine that's a lawyer that deals in municipalities, townships, local governments, and they say there is school district or county farms that are doing exactly this, is create, and the lawyer mentioned pilot program, because I think pilot program is a key word in this whole deal, because you've got multi-school districts within the county, so you can't discriminate against one school district over another that's in the school district, or in the county, I should say. So he come up with a simple draft of, a legal draft, and you don't have to look at it today. That's just an idea, maybe to get on an agenda in a special meeting, if, whatever your guys' idea is, finds flaws or roadblocks or whatever. This is just another potential idea to benefit the school kids, ag programs of districts within the county, so to speak. So in brief, that's just what we had thought of, and just another potential idea. So, and it's not attached to anybody or organization. It's just an idea between us and the council with the lawyer.
So to follow it up, I will hand out so everybody can at least look at what's been talked about. If we look at this, I have talked to Shane Shirt, the superintendent of Shelbyville Schools, Kyle Ladd, the president or principal of the Shelbyville Schools. They are all open to it being presented to the school board on April 21st school board meeting, if that's the direction that the farm committee would want to go, if whatever you're looking at here in a little bit is not an option. They said we could come and talk to them. As you'll see down here, it says pilot program, duration, cost, sell and income line. The lawyer from Christian County covered everything that I think we've ran up to as a roadblock, and or the purpose. This now has purpose. Before, we kept hearing, what's the purpose? What's the purpose? This is a very rough draft in sell and income portion of it. If you look at the back half of the paragraph where it says profits would go to school, and then in parentheses, schools, ag department. As we'd looked at that and talked about it, that could be split out like a population-based split. So say Shelby County had X number of enrollments, A&M had this many enrollments, Oak Hall has this many, Stew Straws has this many. That income from the farm could then just be distributed by percentage to the different ag programs around our whole county. So that would be the specific purpose for the ag education of the students for Shelby County. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask. We're trying to do our best. Thank you.
If I respond to that, got a little bit of an issue with that. I'm not saying that's not an admirable proposition, but we've got schools interlined between counties that overlap. What are we gonna do there?
As this stated, in the second paragraph, pilot is the key word. Pilot program. We don't have it all figured out.
That's the trouble I see with that,
And that's why,
within taxing bodies, because it's gonna go outside the counties too. Because you have people who will say,
well, is Neoga,
Neoga, Effingham, Fayette.
well, and that's where I guess, our hands are tied. We can't leave the set again.
Right, I agree.
Okay? So I'm sitting here, what is the best legal way to do it? And what other way to distribute it throughout the county? And I'd rather have a little bit of mud thrown at me because somebody lived on the other side of the line
Exactly.
than that we didn't do a damn thing.
And I did, after I talked to Jeff this morning, because I had a conversation with him about this, and he brought that issue up, so I called the council over, and he said that shouldn't really be an issue, going forward. Yeah, you might get a little backlash, but like Dave said, what's the backlash with the residents of the county that we're dealing with now versus a certain family or two, or maybe three, versus splitting the community and not really going forward and doing nothing and dealing with mowing weeds again.
I mean, don't you honestly feel like, Jeff, we're about cutting half our county over this thing?
Oh,
Division.
And yeah, it's horrible what's out there. So, trying to find common ground, the key word, I kept saying, pilot, is a one-year program. That gives enough time to put money in the new budget for a custom farming situation.
If this don't work out.
Yes, pilot does not commit it forever. We're looking for, right now, 1 year, one season. If everybody likes it and want to stay with it, that's awesome. But it does not have to go any farther than this growing season. And all the boards would know that up front,
Would this have to be put out for a bid though, with the farmer making a profit off of it?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. If you enter it, and maybe they can expand on that, have an intergovernmental agreement with a school.
Yes, and it still has to be out for bid.
I'm gonna say, I would think it'd have to go out to a bid process,
I don't know.
because the farmer you are giving the farmer some,
Leeway, yes. Because he put in there about having seed donated, possibly, things like that. Well, if that doesn't happen, then there's more expense
right,
to the farmer.
that just
So you-
popped in my head.
Yeah, and you can't set this this couldn't be set in stone that the farmer's gonna get.
X number of dollars.
No.
Yeah, I
Cost
understand.
cover his cost, basically.
But it could be figured out very simple that, we know approximates. So it's like, if he has to buy the seed, buy the chemical, all the normal inputs, the attorney said you could say that the schools would then be distributed 45% of the income off of that farm. I hope that didn't get too detailed right there, but you could limit the farmer's exposure where he couldn't say, oh, well, it cost me $85,000 to do this, and him clean house.
But in an intergovernmental, if county enters into an intergovernmental agreement with a school, it'd have to be an annual thing. Can't that school just do machine hire instead of doing bid? Once we get past the pilot program especially.
I see where you're going with that.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd
I don't
be,
know, I'm not a lawyer.
that'd be, it's a question. I mean, I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. I don't know how that would play into the
We've got time.
statutes and the for lack of a better term, the things that we are sometimes handcuffed on when trying to come to a solution on this.
And
So we're past the deadline of March 15th on the crop insurance, so that's don't even enter into the
Yes.
picture no more, so, you know, we got till mid-June to even plant soybeans, of course, and it's not, who knows?
Okay, I think our 5 minutes is up.
Okay.
I think I didn't time it.
Well,
appreciate
it was up
that.
a while ago, but it was a good dialogue. I didn't say too much.
Some of your questions might be answered later here.
Okay, and that was, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? We need to, yeah, that would be Stu or Jim? Not yet. Anybody got any ideas? Or bring mine?
Is that program that he mentioned there, is that kind of the umbrella that they would be like the custom farmers, and this is under the custom farming program or something totally different?
I have no idea.
Okay. But with the county, the landowner, the county government that owns the land, would they be getting something compensated under this type of program?
No.
You said something about the money's going to the ag departments and stuff,
Yes, the way this is written by him,
you know.
the county itself would not, the way it
Would not get
stands, would
anything.
not, other than keep them from spending a ton of money
Okay, let's
to maintain.
move on.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Sorry. I'm gonna call this, for lack of better terms, the Stu plan. I was approached by Stu Fox, very concerned about the farm. Naturally, a lot of us are. And what he's proposing to do is, he's got the seed provided for. He's gonna do all the custom work, take it in, put it out. All the proceeds go back to the county. And as far as the insurance part of it goes, Jim Schwarman's volunteering his services, which we can get insurance through via the airport. There's no risk whatsoever. The only thing that's lacking as of right now is approximately $7,000 for chemical. Mr. Schwarman's volunteered or graciously, I won't say donated, but he'll fund that $7,000 with 0% interest till this fall. I see absolutely no problem with this at all. It's costing the county absolutely zero. And I'll entertain a motion to,
So moved.
Motion to what?
No discussion.
motion, it comes after.
The motion is to
To do what he said.
the Stu Fox plan.
Yep. And we have contracts here, you guys probably ought to look at them.
I'll second it. Now we have discussion. Any discussion?
Yep, now we're open for discussion.
So right off the bat, you mentioned $7,000 chemicals.
The application has been donated as well.
That's $35 an acre. I'm curious where that number comes from. Where's that come from?
Stu, would you want to elaborate on that? Yeah.
That was through FAS.
Well, what I'm curious is because in February it's 26.5 for chemicals. Sorry. 26 minus 8, so 18,000 for chemicals. So I was just curious where this $7,000 number come from for chemistry.
I just told you.
Right.
I'm assuming there's no burn down on that. You're gonna use tillage.
It's work.
Pardon?
It'll be work.
Yeah, it's tillage for the initial pass. FS one time was $41, so it's not that far off from what our plans this spring.
Right. Well, you pull your contacts out of the burn down. So you've got 21, so on. I get it. I follow.
Nutrient was $30 in the spring.
Also might add, Stu's gonna have some assistance with that too. He's got other people who's willing to help and volunteer. Anybody ever realize how noisy that clock is?
We used to have meetings in here.
Guys, let me know when you're ready to move on or have a chance to read it. We'll proceed.
Jeff, can I just say something?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna just tell you guys this. I farmed for 46 years on this county, and if I say this will get took care of, doesn't matter what the chemical price is, doesn't matter any of it, it'll get done. And that's just the bottom line on that.
Well, right, but the number was put out at $7,000, and if you're gonna handle that, then you'd take it back to 7,000, I think. That's just my
I
opinion.
tell you what, $7,000 ain't that much to me, buddy, to see this thing
Well, that's
done.
fine. If it was 21,000, I could see that being vital number two, so.
Well, it is what it is. I can't sit here and see this not took care of another year. A whole year went by a year ago and nothing happened. And that ain't right. There's nobody in this room that can tell me what happened a year ago, any part of that was right. So that's my position on it. I'll take care of it. I'll have people that'll help me take care of it. And it'll get done. And it'll benefit this county. And that's all I really care about.
I've known it's a good while and I'll back in on that 100%.
This is just a kind of a bridge until we can get it to next year where we.
Yeah, it gives you a year to figure it out, guys.
Is that what we're
It
looking
gives-
at, is just a bridge to get through this year, get a crop planted, get it tended, cared for, so that we can get the budget, get the right money put in the budget in September and stuff through.
Proceeds.
Well, I just think it'd be wonderful if this could establish something for the future to where this is never an issue again. The farm's funded by what it generated itself. And anything above and beyond what it takes to custom farm it, however you want to do it, and plant a crop and care for a crop, anything above and beyond that goes back to the county every year to help with other expenses. But the farm is took care of forever. It's been took care of for how many years and never had this issue till a year ago.
155 years ago.
That's a bit.
Jeff, can I make one quick comment?
Yeah.
What's the public purpose of this plan? Or public purpose of the funds from the crop? That's what we need to know, I think.
Basically, it reverts back to funding the farm for the next year for custom farming, and anything in excess of that should go to county buildings maintenance.
I don't know, I just asked it.
That's the intentions.
Does it go into general fund then, is that what it does, or something?
No.
Where would it go? It doesn't go back to general fund.
We'd have to make a new line item in the budget. County farm expense, income, and then
You have a question?
keep so much to cover it, and then the rest would go into county courthouse maintenance, is what I think. God knows this courthouse needs a lot of work.
Well, we'll never run out of, you run out of money before we get everything fixed.
I think you need to open it up to some comment here.
Yeah. Kurt?
I don't know what your contract says, but if I understood, you said something to the effect of zero interest, so that there's some type of liability that's created,
Small one.
okay? In the Budget Act, it outlines you can't establish a liability. And I've tried to talk to you about this, and I think you have an option here using exactly what J. Scott did in Macon County. You can amend your budget for an emergency. Now, I know it's been said it's not an emergency, but the excuse has been used multiple times to amend the budget to preserve make sure you don't lose the money. Well, why wouldn't that principle apply here? Amend the budget so you don't lose the income from that farm and move forward with your custom farming like you planned. And you keep it all,
We're keeping it all here.
but you're also creating a liability that violates the Budget Act.
We will have a liability if we do custom farm it out, because we're not eligible for insurance at this time.
You're not creating an eligibility or liability under the Budget Act. There's a big difference.
Okay, can I ask a question to you?
Sure.
And there was, in a regular board meeting, you stood and said this was not an emergency to amend the budget for the farm. You stood in
You bet.
these farm committee meetings and said the same thing.
You bet.
What has changed to change that thought process?
What changed was further investigation into how other counties were doing an emergency budget or an emergency amendment, and we found in Macon County literally multiple emergency budgets that J. Scott did with the argument it was to make sure we didn't lose revenue. And if that argument can be used there, then I would say it could be used here. I didn't know that prior to those budget amendments being done So there's I would say not necessarily a legal precedence because it's not a court case, but you have legal counsel in this building
Yes.
that utilized that process to amend a budget, and it was no problem.
Okay.
That's the difference.
Okay, well, there's two things there that concern me. You said you could, doesn't mean we may. You said could.
May, could.
You said could.
Okay.
And the other one is, we've been criticized as a board for several years now that just because others do something doesn't mean we should be doing something. So I go back to, I don't see what has changed as that example, okay? And I'll let you come back and
I think it's back to, from a pure power standpoint, the Budget Act is pretty clear. In an emergency budget amendment, that's something that, it's not defined, it's not a defined term. There's different opinions from the AG on what they say is an emergency, but they never define the term. So it's something that's really going to be subject to what your legal counsel says, yay or nay, and in this case, Jay Scott justified that it was something they could do. Well, if they could do it under that provision, I haven't seen any reason why you couldn't do the same thing here.
I'm asking
problem.
questions.
I appreciate the
and
dialogue.
I like the rhetoric back and forth.
I do, and it's productive, and I appreciate it very much.
Under the county's code, section 5/5-1135, it permits borrowing from financial institutions for any corporate purpose from any bank or other financial institution, provided that the money be repaid within 2 years from the time that the money is borrowed. So if Shelby County State Bank is offering a 0% interest loan that is not due until after the harvest, that's within the 2-year period. It doesn't cost the county a dime.
And I might have
We
my
don't get-
numbers wrong here. I haven't looked at it for a week or two, but I believe we still have $4,385 roughly in the farm budget.
Yes.
That could be utilized to offset a large percentage of that chemical bill. So, I mean, that's over 50% of that chemical bill, roughly 60%. I mean, my math's being rough here, but, so, there'd be a very small, if you want to call it liability to the county. But it sounds like we can do that through that statute.
And then Jim can apply for the crop insurance for us. It's up to the board if you want that. I think it would be prudent to get that. But that would be an additional liability that wouldn't be due until next budget season. And I think it was $2,000 some. But that ensures that there will be insurance on
There
it.
was a guarantee of a
And if the
revenue guarantee.
There's
Right.
no risk.
And if the committee wants to do that, and then ultimately the county board, then we would need to give Jim the authority. That option has been reserved, but give him the authority to go ahead and obtain that for the county.
May I make one quick? You mentioned selling a crop. I mean, you got the first half pretty well ironed out, I think, for the most part, but the second half is selling the crop and where the money's being placed.
That's where we're gonna kinda leave that up to Jim Schwarman, volunteering his services.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Where does that money go? What fund, you said you're gonna create a fund?
We would need to put something, I think, the idea of this is to put the money into an account, fund next year's crop, and then after that, I'll keep enough each year to fund the crop, and then the rest of it goes into another fund. I guess you want to call it your profit. Goes into a fund then for courthouse maintenance, so that we can keep this courthouse up and maintain to the standards that our county and constituents believe would be correct. And I think, to me, that's a public purpose, to keep this beautiful courthouse in shape and, keep it a viable, functioning courthouse for generations to come, hopefully.
And keep a piece of history at least another 155 years.
So is the motion, was the motion to take, motion second, take this to the board?
Yep.
What I see through all this talk is it's muddy water again. There's other things that just, as we have conversed for the last year, contingency on this and that. One of the last things that Brian said was about for the courthouse. I agree, it's great. But when I further checked into it, we cannot earmark it. It's not possible. It cannot be put into a special fund. I've already checked on that through Erica, because this was one of the questions we had much earlier. We have a defined custom farm operation that we had worked out. What I hear today is a lot of loose ends. It's not a final. We have liability, just as we did in our own presentation of trying to put it for the custom. Whether it's $7,000 or $10,000, it's still a liability. We're involving more people as we continue to always want to put it in somebody else's hands to be responsible for things. The farm committee is supposed to be responsible for the county farm. Why does everybody want to try to give it to someone else to manage? Are we not capable? Should we not be on the board? It's our responsibility instead of having someone else do it. I don't care if it's $1 or $80,000. It's our responsibility. We come down to the emergency of managing the farm to control the weeds. We saw it last year. It cost us money. It's going to cost us money this year. So we're going to solve that by borrowing $7,000? Or do we use the emergency thought? We actually talked about this in our last farm committee meeting. And I even sent a letter to Nicole, and my response was she didn't understand my questioning. I'll agree to that to a point, but the point of what my email was to Nicole and Jay was, which is the lesser evil? Being fined, letting the weeds grow, or the emergency of taking care of their property? Which was going to cost us more?
Well, the
We have no
$7,000.
way of doing 100% correct. So do we need to go into another contract and ask different people to get involved when it's our responsibility? It's still not 100% right no matter which way you look at it.
This is written that the farm committee is still in charge of the farm. Jim would just act as a liaison so that Stu doesn't have to come to meetings all the time. He's doing enough. He's volunteering to do enough. Other than being a liaison, Jim would help us get crop insurance, which benefits the county, and then loan money for the herbicides, which may only be like
It's still a loan.
$3,000 if we have $4,000 in the account.
It's still a loan.
But he's not controlling the farm, if that's what the argument is. The farm committee is in charge of the farm.
It's about asking other people to take responsibility. And it's the farm committee's responsibility. We have it worked out simply. We just don't have the budget at the time. We don't have the budget to give him $1 to do this because he's taking the financial responsibility.
Well,
Excuse me,
Well,
it's
go
not
ahead.
open.
Sure,
I'm the chairman, Mark. Continue. I'll get to you in a minute, Stu.
okay.
You done?
No. Through a lot of this process, I have been told I was wrong for presenting different aspects of what we could legally do and not. I'm not a lawyer, but I am a human being, and you know what? All of us in here can read documents. And you know, we all make mistakes. We don't read things perfectly. Kurt just actually told that what he envisioned from the laws, and he found something else different. I listened to Nicole speak to our county and township committee at the state level. And what was funny was there was no admittance that anybody else on the farm committee was ever correct. But we were told, we're not a lawyer. So were we right? Because she's asking the law to be changed. Do you want to listen to everything she says when she went right in front of the state level and said, we can't legally do this, will you change the law?
It's not what I said.
Otherwise, she wouldn't approach the state to change the law. This is not a personal vendetta against her at all. But we all have a brain, not just her. You borrow money, no matter which way you look at this, whether Mr. Fox has offered to do, I think it's great you've offered, okay? I commend you. This was actually brought up by myself many months ago, that we could get people together to donate to get the farm covered. It's been a tug of war just like this because everybody has a different vision. This, don't know when it was written up. Could it have been out earlier for Bobby and I to see it? Or I don't know how many people have seen it.
I saw it the first time when it was in.
Okay.
I got it last night at 10:41 or whatever it was.
But I'm sure something was in the works. Somebody knew something about it.
Do you want us to come unprepared?
Well, not to be rude, but I've got a question. So this, what is?
Hang on a minute. Stu, you want to?
All I was gonna say is, I'm offering. That's my deal. You know, no one else has got this figured out. This at least helps, you know. I don't know what else people can do other than offer their services, tell what they'll do, and go on from that. All this legal stuff, good and fine. I don't know crap about any of that. I know about farming. I know how to take care of business. Been doing it for 46 years. Why can't this happen? That's my question. It ain't a hard question. Pretty simple. We're sitting here talking about 7 grand, 10 grand, 50 grand. What's the difference? Everybody in this room has handled and worked with more than that. Am I concerned about anything above 7 grand? No. I'll tell you right now. I'll cover it if that's what it takes to make it happen. But it just can't set another year, guys. It's ridiculous. It got handled for how many years, and the ball got dropped last year, and I don't want to see that happen again. You know, it's a bad reflection on everybody in this room, everybody in our county. Simple as that. I don't know, you know, I don't know what else to say. I live with it the same way as all you guys live with it. Only I'm in your position. Don't want to be. But I can offer you what I'm willing to do if that'll help you out. And that ain't hard. It's there if you want it. Jim's no different. He's offering what he can do. And other people will too, guys. It ain't hard. Just figure out how to make it happen so it don't set another year. Then you got that covered, and then you can figure out what happens to it after that from here on out. You got a whole, I don't know how long you got, but you got time to get something figured out that works. You know, it's just a shame you can't get something that works. And I don't know what else to say, guys. I've sat here and listened to y'all and watched it all, and you know, people have ideas and they try to do their best. And, well, Dave's stuff, that's an option. There's 100 different options. But is any of it going to make sure it's planted and harvested this year? I ain't heard nothing other than me offering to do that for you. And that's what I'm offering. So, tell you what, boys, I got 500 head of cattle to look about. And if you don't mind, I'm going to leave this meeting. Whatever you tell me, good enough, Jeff. I just don't have time to sit here and watch this, guys. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Steve.
You heard what I got to say. Good luck to you. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Stu.
Thank you, Sue.
August, did you have something?
Yeah, so what is the nuts and bolts of this agreement? He would be the operator that comes in and plants and harvests the crop, maintains the crop, with the exception of spraying, correct?
He'll do everything. He and other farmers that will volunteer. He'll be compensated $1 for it. That's his agreement. And he will provide all the seeds, so we don't even have to pay for that.
Right.
The only thing the county has to pay for is the herbicide
And crop insurance.
and crop
If we
insurance,
choose to
if we
go that
choose to go
route.
that route.
Yes.
So we would pay him $1 to do all that.
Hmm?
He gets 100% of the proceeds.
We get 100% of the proceeds. He's not
We're
taking,
not getting,
he's not taking a
anything
penny.
but $1.
The county gets all the money.
He's donated everything from what I've been led to believe.
He's donating the equipment, the fuel for the equipment, the time, the seed, everything. He will do this all for $1.
Okay.
And Jim's not charging anything if you want him to help be a liaison. I don't think Stu needs to be coming into farm committee meetings with as busy as he is with farming, and Jim's offered to
We
assist with
gotta
that.
have Jim for the crop insurance.
Yes.
Any more discussion?
Guys, yeah. So, the county has a policy currently, that's why crop insurance would be available to do something like this. And as far as the nuts and bolts, I currently take care of the airport, and I can set up another account within the trust department for the county farm specifically, so that money would all be secured. You're talking about probably $140,000, more or less. If it would make 50 bushel an acre at the current prices around $14 a bushel. And Nicole didn't mention it. If the committee wanted to take care of selling the grain, fine, whatever you guys want to do, I can take care of that as well, and I won't charge the county for my services as far as grain marketing. That way, the funds would be secured, and at the after the crop insurance bill is paid, the net would be turned over to the county to do whatever you guys, whatever needs to happen to the money. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. I mean, it's just what I'm offering.
Recommend. Ready to vote?
Here.
If I understand correctly, basically this is a custom farming operation for $1. The only thing that I would encourage, I totally agree with your state's attorney, you have the power to borrow, but you can't read statutes in isolation. You can only borrow and create a liability within the Budget Act as well. The budget liability still applies. Even though you have the power to borrow, you still have to comply with the other portions of the law. And that's my only concern on everything I heard. Thank you.
Call vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. No.
Aye. Motion carries.
Motion passed.
And then I think, so that we can get this in front of the county board next week, it should be discussed if you want Jim to pursue the crop insurance. That's not in this agreement. This agreement's with Stu Fox. And also to discuss the loan for the herbicides. I would write up a separate resolution if you want to pursue those two aspects of this.
Yes.
Do you want to vote on that, each separately, the insurance and then the?
Yeah. Put that in the form of motion.
We can't, it's gotta be something just in the, just do it for the, oh, this is general, we can do, this is very vague on the agenda, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It would be to determine if you want to recommend to the board to have Jim involved with securing crop insurance. If you want to do that, I'll write up a resolution for next week's county board meeting. And then also, if you want to pursue the loan for the herbicides through Shelby County State Bank, if you want to recommend that, I'll write a resolution for next week.
We need to vote on that today.
You should if you want to get this done next
Can we
week.
do them both at the same time, or you want to do it separately?
Probably do it separate.
Okay.
Is that on the agenda?
It's part of the options for farming. It's part of getting this farm done.
make a motion to take to the board the not the hiring, the use of Jim Swarman services to obtain crop insurance.
Second.
Any discussion?
Discussion?
I agree with a lot of that discussion, last discussion.
Sorry about that.
We had all that discussion in the last discussion.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion passed.
Need another motion for the other aspect there of the.
Yeah, for the $7,000, correct?
If, I guess that would be the most, you have approximately 4,000 now, the way I understand it, so.
Right.
Up to 7,000,
Up
maybe
to,
say 7,500 to be safe, but we do have 4,000 some dollars in the,
Like I said last time, it was 4,300 and change, if I remember right, last time that was sent out before the last board meeting, when I was looking through that. You guys got the same thing from Erica. It's like the 6-month update, I think.
that's what I'd seen too, as well.
I'll make a motion to get $7,000 at 0%.
Do 7,000 or 7,500?
That's fine. Do 7,500 at 0%.
you just say like not to exceed 7,500 and you can get the exact number.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Nope.
Motion passed. I believe that's all I have.
There's old business and new business. That can be taxed, but
Just better read the agenda. Any old business? New business? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
motion to
Second.
Yeah. All those in favor?